Alright, guys, it's time. We are back with the PiG Daily. That's right, the show where I analyze StarCraft, done in a much more casual format. We've still been doing IC4, we've never stopped. That was always part of the PiG Daily show. But, a lot of people say, PiG, why don't you do the daily anymore? People come to my stream every day, they say, PiG, we wish we could see a few more, analyses, going over all the deep and dark and wondrous, beautiful things in this game. And I say, you know what? I have a very big passion for StarCraft at the moment anyway. Definitely had I had a low point. I think it was end of last year where I was just kind of not following the game as close as there weren't as many big pro tournaments. Kind of the off season, so I guess I took a bit of a mental break myself. But ever since we've had non-stop tournaments for the last couple of months, I've had my face glued to the screen. Every day I've got new VODs to go look up and skim through, and I'm writing down build orders and I'm cataloging things on my head. And I've started to have more and more deep and meaningful and beautiful conversations about the meta and strategies. And I've also got cool content like, In Depth? Over on Artosis YouTube channel, guys. In Depth is a show him and Norogret have been doing, where basically Norogret just goes over to Dan's house. They sit there and they just look at replays for a few hours from Oli Mo League and the top Korean leagues, and it looks daunting being such a long video, but you can just watch one of the games or one of the series and come back to it later. And it's just them talking about the meta. The first episode they did was talking about stalker drops and stuff, so definitely go check that out. Watching that, Printf's beautiful Minute Micro series where he's been breaking down shit in 1 minute long videos of all these tiny details, some of which I didn't know. That's also inspired me, and that's a much less popular YouTube channel, which is so much easier to digest than anyone else's content that's doing StarCraft content, and it's incredibly valuable even if you're a GM or pro player. I reckon there's a few nuggets in there you didn't even realize. So you guys should definitely check that out as well. If someone in chat could please link those up, that would be amazing. That would be great. No Regret talks a lot of shit about patience, Frostbite says. He is Patience, right? Have you seen Patience play? It's like watching a drunk boxer, man. It's amazing, it's magical, it's fantastic, but it's also dude, why'd you drink a liter of vodka before you stepped in the ring? That doesn't seem like a good idea. That's just how Patience plays StarCraft. He's crazy. He's a madman. He became famous for his blink move. Oh shit. Okay, guys, let's start talking about this series. I forgot how quickly these games got going. So this was the WCS Winter Finals. Nothing's really changed balance-wise in this matchup since then. I believe the Nydus worm was already nerfed at the point that this series was played. 95% sure. Either way, I guess that's going to come into play in this first match. Scarlett's coming in. Oh, Ling slides in. She saw the second at the first Adept leave. Ling's going to slide in. She's trying to do what appears to be a Nydus. Very fast lair. And Neeb is like, God damn it, I really need to scout. Now, this first Adept of Neeb feels a little bit late, but I think it's just Automaton. And just how bloody big this map is. So you can see he's doing a two-sided scout. He wants to count the workers, and he sees that's not a lot of workers, and he sees a lair. So he was always sacrificing that Adept. He said, look, it's a big map. I don't get a lot of time over here to confirm what's going on before Ling Speed's done, especially not against this gas pool opening that Scarlett did. Now, Scarlett wanted to deny the scouting. A lot of the times, players won't even send their first Adept across the map, because they know Ling Speed's about 25 seconds faster than against Hatch Gas Pool, and as a result, they might not even scout this coming. Now, Neeb did scout. Neeb knows this is a good chance of coming. He's got a pylon there. He's got a second gateway. I mean, the Oracle going across the map seems a bit ambitious. He's going for a Void Ray now. Yeah, I like the full wall. Definitely need that little bit of safety. Oh, that Stalker does pop on the correct side. Oracle comes in, and it's going to see the Nydus worm, and Neeb's like, okay, let's get the fuck out of here. Okay. Now this was after the change, so you can see the probes are actually doing damage. So they are going to shut down this Nydus worm at the same time. Scarlett's just going to flood the wall. Great second layer of wall off so far. Sentry warping in as well. Another Nydus goes down on the far side. Oh, that Chad Ray needs to get on that right now. It's already fucking half. Whoa, 14 seconds? Oh, it's 20 heart of the... It's 18 heart of the swarm seconds. The Nydus worm. I was like, is it only 14? Yeah, it's 14 real seconds. It's 18 in the old seconds. Void Ray is pushed back. That's a lot of Zerglings in here. One more wave of Zerglings. You're going to be dead here as Neeb. Oh, Neeb's got to pull back, but he's got to keep these gateways alive. He needs to put another pylon down here. The Chad goes down. Uh-oh, Neeb, get back to the choke point. One zealot gets surrounded. He's got a force field, so yeah, good force field. But, oh my god, everything just surrounds. There's still too much surface area. The Oracle, with a nice hold position on that Oracle, but he loses the production. He just needed to hold on for a few more seconds. If he was able to wall that off with a pylon there, keep his units wedged in so that Zerglings had to run all the way around, I think he might have been able to do it, but Neeb here, unfortunately, it does go to Poo Town. So let's go back a little bit and break that down. So really good Nydus build. Part of the reason Scarlett chose this is it's a big map, so it's going to take, like we said, there's a chance he doesn't even scout it coming. He scouted it coming and failed to defend it. Neeb's kicking himself after that game, guys. Neeb is like, God fucking, why'd I underestimate it? Why'd I underestimate it? He's angry. The other reason this is good is you can put a Nydus down here or here, and it's a long distance to get back up here. So you can throw these Nydus worms in these two very, very, very far apart locations that are still next to one of their mineral ions. Now, in terms of the scouting, Neeb's done a very late scout, right? He came down and scouted after Nexus. So he went Gate, Gas, Nexus, Cybercore, second Gas, second Pylon. Most standard build order, but normally people scout after Pylon or Gateway. Neeb is a greedy boy, though. Now, Neeb loves to cut a corner, get a little bit ahead, and then go and hit you with a super fast, crisp timing attack that wouldn't normally hit you so fast, but because he's cut a corner, in this case, not probe scouting as early, getting a few more minerals, getting everything started, he's all good. Now, he sees two lings, he sees the hatch. Neeb can assume there's a good chance there's a fast gas. So he just says, okay, I'm not going to get in there. There's a queen out as well, of course. If it's a pool first, the lings are already out. The queen will be out in a few seconds after that as well. And that's going to be that. So Stargate in the wall here, just a full wall off, that's a good choice. Now, this is something against a hatch first you don't need to do because ling speed isn't done till 3:30. But Neeb is aware of the fact that with this ling speed, it's going to be finished right after 3 minutes. That's before you really have the money to put down extra gateways. Now, this ling getting in, not really the biggest deal. Doesn't matter. Sends that adept back to deal with it, and then we'll finish the wall off. This adept here, though, has to commit to the scouting. So Neeb says, you know what, there's no way it gets home. I know ling speed's pretty much finished. And I love this two-pronged scout decision by Neeb, where he says, let's just make sure. So first things first, just to break this down for any newer players, what's he scouting for in the natural? Drone count. Normally by this point, about 3 minutes 10, when your adept gets there, this is a big map, the adept took a while to get there should be at least 8 drones on that natural. He sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One that's turned into the spore to save itself. Nice little spore crawler trick. That's not as many as there should be. Now, the more important thing you'll see high-level players focus their scouting on is there a lair started? Because this is where Nydus Worm, fast muters, weird Hydra Rush builds, which are very rare, but any of the weird shit comes out. Really fast swarm hosts, all that stuff comes out there. So seeing that, Neeb says it's probably a Nydus Worm, could be fast muters or a few other things, but I know you're down on workers. I know I've already got a nice economy lead. I've just got to lock everything down. So I really like Neeb's choice to build a Stalker here. You want more anti-air so you can shoot down Overlords. What I don't like is how long he takes to build a Void Ray. A lot of people would prefer to just go a Phoenix and just get something out as quick as possible, shoot down the Overlords. But a Phoenix takes a long time to kill Overlords. So, yeah, there's a slight supply block there. Let's go back a little bit. That shouldn't have happened. Ooh, Neeb getting supply blocked, making us plebs feel better about ourselves. Yeah, maybe... I mean, if you don't... The Stalker's not really as important as the Void Ray. And he just started a chrono. That's a pretty big fuck-up, guys. He should have cancelled the Stalker and built the Void Ray. Because then he would have enough supply for the 4-supply Void Ray. And the Void Ray is just more important. It could shut some shit down. I don't know, because a Void Ray doesn't do crazy damage, even versus armored. And Nydus Worm is armored. I think with Prismatic Alignment, it should still kill a Nydus Worm that's trying to pop up on its own. Has anyone ever tested that in the unit tester? Someone in chat, test that for me now. I will give you a special shout out. I'll say you are awesome and probably well hung and amazing and GM at life. If anyone who bothers to go test that in unit tester, go test if a Void Ray that starts attacking a Nydus Worm within, say, a few seconds of when it starts popping, will it kill the Nydus Worm before it pops? Triple Helix is on it. Thank you, Triple Helix. Please We're going to get a live report back on that. I'm pretty sure it'll shut it down. Tell us, like, at how many seconds does the Nydus worm need of a head start before the Void Ray fails to kill it and queens get out and transfuse it. If you can test that out, that'd be great. So, that pylon was a little late. This Stalker was not worth it. That Void Ray could have already been out by now, wailing on these Zerglings or killing that Overlord. Either way would have been great, right? So I think that would have been important. I don't think the shield batteries in the main are important either. I actually think for Neeb, it's much more important to just reinforce the wall down here. And yeah, try to just make more fighting units. Shield batteries can be really good, but yeah, I just think you're basically giving up an expansion if you're going to fall back on that, and it doesn't make sense to give up this to give up this base, because that's where your production is. If you want to give up a base, it's got to be this base, and really, I don't think Neeb's wanting it to get to that point in the first place. So I think Neeb kind of fucked up here by not getting that Void Ray out as quickly as he should have. I think this probe pull's perfectly fine. However, pulled a few too many probes. A little bit of panic, right, guys? He only could get surface area with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd probably pull about 12 workers to be safe. I'd pull like 80% of the mineral line, just be like, attack it, just to make sure, right? Obviously, you'd rather overcommit than let a Nydus worm pop and ruin your day. Scarlett is just massing lings, massing queens. She's completely all in. Is it like three? It's only 3 queens. It's basically just a speedling flood with the Nydus worm added in. Leaves the Stalker to get rid of the Overlord. I do like that call. And you can see Scarlett here. She's actually already queued that Nydus, and then he's going to queue this one. And this is something I feel like they could remove. The ability for Zerg players to queue Nydus worms and be like, no, you actually need to go look at it and manually place it. But anyway, so this is popping up here, and we see Neeb is trying to defend the wall. The Oracle still hasn't done shit. It could have killed like all of these Zerglings while they're breaking through the wall during this time. An Oracle also pretty much kills a Nydus worm on its own if it starts shooting it when it pops up. So that Oracle going across the map, yeah, was that a game-ending decision, or I guess another way to put it is, would that have kept Neeb alive if he didn't bother with that? So he confirms at this point, the Oracle comes straight home, right? But it just takes a little bit too long. It's such a fucking big map, man. Yeah. He doesn't really dilly-dally with it at all. It comes straight back. It's non-stop moving. No fuck up on that. It's just the fact that he chose to go across the map to confirm what Scarlett was doing. Yeah. And then he just gets overpowered down here. So the Void Ray ends up being useless unless you overpower the queens. Now, because there's only 2 queens here, if you kept the Void Ray alive on its hit points, or if you had a shield battery healing it, either of those would allow the Void Ray and the Oracle to just trash the queens. Especially if you get the high hit point, high energy queen. The only way Scarlett wins that fight is if she quickly grabs her 3rd queen, which she's fucked up with. She's accidentally clicked it across the map. She has to get that in the Nydus, pop it out. And what you can do is, as this queen gets low, you can pop it in the Nydus and then pop it back out, transfuse the other one, pop back in the Nydus, pop out when they try to target it. So you can actually do some pretty cool in and out of the Nydus worm micro to kind of screw up the maths on that fight for the Protoss. But likewise, I think if these 2 shield batteries were just down here from the start, I think Neeb's totally fine, because you've got a gateway up, you've got another gateway finishing. This gateway is going to be up in warping in 25 seconds or so. Get a few more zealots, adepts, anything like that out, and you're fine. You just need to survive as Neeb. Likewise, Neeb could have afforded to pull 10 whole probes here, or even 20 probes, and just have them as part of the army, and that would have been fine. But Neeb here chases the queens. Huge mistake. You never leave the choke point. You know a billion lings could pop out in a moment's notice. Never walled off that. I would have loved a pylon just to be there, or a zealot on hold position, anything. So loses the zealot, and ends up feeling pressured to waste a force field here. But a lot of those Zerglings still got through, so they're still hitting. And these Zerglings wrap around, another zealot warps in, but just too much surface area. The Oracle comes in a few seconds too late after most of the units are gone, and bit of a trash defense. So, I think the biggest decisions that were made here, the early mistake of the Void Ray not getting out just hurt Neeb's ability to defend. Saying, I want to confirm what's going on with the Oracle, I actually like. I think if you're Neeb's level of player, go across the map with the Oracle, scout, confirm she's not going mutas, confirm she's not droning up and dropping a 3rd. I like the Oracle going across the map. But you've got to drop the shield batteries in your natural at your production. That's your fallback point. That's your fucking safe zone. And you've got to just stay in the choke point. You can't chase the queens to the Nydus. Stay in your choke point. Protect the gateways, protect the pylons, warp in more units. If you need to pull 10 extra probes to buffer, to add a little bit of damage, that's totally fine. But yeah, just don't get too carried away. All right, guys, we'll get into that next game. So that's a pretty straightforward game. Kind of cool to see, though, Scarlett going for the Nydus worm, where it's just gas pool. Go straight to lair really fast after that queen's out. Build 2 more queens in the natural, and yeah, smash it. Actually, dude, I think she did queue 2 queens from the main before she... I think she queued 2 queens before she made it. So cool little cheese. Next time I Nydus worm in ZVP, I'm going to do it the way Scarlett did it there. It's gas pool. So 17 gas, 17 pool, 18 hatch, something along those lines. Straight into ling speed, lair with your next 100 gas, build 3 queens, stop at 22 workers. So that means just a gas, 1 mineral line. That makes 19 workers. About 5 workers on your natural. So main base saturated with 1 gas and about 5 workers on your natural is the best way to think of that. Because you're going to then chew up a drone to build a Nydus worm. She lost a drone or 2 to an adept as well. Lactation Mac with the 2-month resub. Thank you very much for the support. When turning on prismatic alignment, we have a report back, guys, from Triple Helix. Yep, the Nydus can be 1/3 finished, so it can be 1/3 of the way done, so it can have almost 5 seconds of building time, that Nydus worm. And if your Void Ray at 1/3 of the production of the Nydus worm turns on prismatic alignment, focuses it down, it'll still kill the Nydus worm. So if you let that Nydus worm get to 5, 6, 7 seconds, anywhere in that range or more done before the Void Ray starts hitting it, it won't be able to finish it off. But yeah, the Void Ray could have shut that Nydus worm down, guys. The Oracle could have got back, started cleaning up the lings. Neeb would have been fine. So yeah, that supply block and not realizing and cancelling the Stalker, big mistake, I think, from Captain Neebius in that last game. But poo-poo happens. Do we really need a unit tester? It's basic maths, says Frostbite. Yeah, like I'm not gonna trust the maths of these fucking idiots who sit around playing video games all day, mate. Dude, all we do is sit in front of the idiot box, fucking trying to do the numbers. No, seriously, I just don't trust Wikipedia numbers to be up to date. Because I feel like some Wikipedia numbers might accidentally be in Heart of the Swarm time, some might be in Legacy time. I'm not sure if it's consistent. It might be correct, but I'd always want to hop in game to double check, because those stats change. So it's easy to attack. Oh, it's actually 1 armor more, or it's actually 1 attack more. So it's, yeah, if you have the correct information, yeah, going to the unit tester is the best way to get the correct information though. So that works out. All right, guys. So here we have Neeb opening up, blocks the natural, and goes for this fucking thing here. Now, this is really funny, actually. Yeah. All right, let's go back. Let's go back, guys. Let's look at that pylon timing, first of all. So, something you'll hear a lot if you talk to Neeb and Scarlett and these players, and they talk to each other a lot. They're good friends, which is why you see such cool builds. Is that pylon, super exposed, super vulnerable. However, guess what happens? If you put a pylon in your wall on certain maps, it means your probe can get across the map so fast, it can even block a 16 hatch. Let's see, was Scarlett going for a 16 hatch on this game? Yeah, she was going to go 16 hatch. Then she sees the probe and she's like, motherfucker. So she's got to go take her 3rd base now. So that's a cool little thing, where one of the advantages of having that pylon this far out is it just means your probe gets across. Now, I don't even know if you need to have it that far out on this particular map, because Kairos Junction, the distance isn't that much. But I remember Scarlett specifically telling me when I was talking to her at a tournament, she was saying that on Catalyst, yeah, I was like, what's with these shitty wall-offs? And she was like, oh, it's so they can block a 16 hatch. And I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, if you wall off behind the wall, the extra like 1.5 seconds of probe walking time means they can get a 16 hatch down. So that's why we often saw people go 15 hatch on really small maps, if they were really keen on going hatch first. So anyway, Neeb comes across, forces the third base to go down. Scarlett's like, that's cool. Hatch gas pool, looks like a standard opening. Now, there is another side effect of this wall, which the commentators did a really great job of talking about, and that is these sort of walls often act as bait because it just looks so fucking exposed. Look at the surface area. That gateway can get surrounded by like 20 lings. And it looks vulnerable if you leave a pylon in the wall. So sometimes it baits people into pylon baneling busting. Roddy will often wall with 2 pylons in his wall, but then he does a second layer of like forges and core and stuff behind it after it looks like they might baneling bust, or at the timing where they would otherwise do that. Now the other advantage of this is that you've got tons of space. So I often wall off with a pylon there, like here, and I go gate there, core there, robo here, right? Something like that. The problem is if they start sieging down your wall, you don't have that much space before you're butting into your nexus, your minerals, and your ramp. It's very easy to get kind of choked up and not have enough space. But with this particular placement, Neeb has all the space in the world. And yeah, he does in fact bait Scarlett into doing a speedling all-in on this map, which is cool. So he's going to come across and interestingly goes straight to the third base. And he's going to, force a few Spore Crawler tricks and gets that Adept out of there. And he really would like to see, hey, are you all-inning me? Are you being, Scarlett, are you being a cheesy shithead? And she's like, no, I'm building a third base. Look, I definitely didn't only put this down because I saw your Adept was committing to the Scout. I'm definitely not hiding all of my Zerglings. So yeah, you see she's hiding some lings at her hatcheries. And she pulls those lings to the right. She should have hidden those a bit better. But at this point, I think he knows anyway, because he's seen no drones coming down. I mean, he doesn't really have confirmation, does he? Oh, but even seeing these lings out here is like a bit of a tell. I think he saw those. I'm not sure. Do we think he knows? This is just a pretty safe follow-up. Doesn't look like he necessarily knows. He's trying to just go home. This Adept's hanging out here. Yeah, he has no fucking clue. He has no fucking clue until this moment. And he's like, get the fuck out of there! But he has just a really solid second layer of ore. So that pylon actually reaches for that gateway. Really nice thick choke point. And what's so great is you can fit a big 3x3 structure in there, which is the most hit points. Big cyber core or gateway. Another pylon there reinforcing as well. So this is pretty cool. And because Neeb is non-stop been building Adepts, has 3 Adepts out. 3 Adepts is going to kill Zerglings really fast. Has a Robo behind this. Prism's not really useful. If Neeb wanted to really overly respect this and just be like, fuck, could cancel the Prism and Q an Immortal. I'd recommend that if you're a lower level player. I would probably do that in this scenario. But having the Warp Prism just means he's going to be infinitely ahead if he holds on. Now that Sentry popping on the outside, obviously not going to achieve that much. Goes down. But these Adepts, they just got so many kills. Now one little obvious mistake there for Neeb, right? He was a little bit slow on the shade behind the wall, wasn't he? Yeah, this Adept here didn't shade. That Adept could have shaded to safety. Now, did he try it? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he tries to do it, but he does it too late. So one of the best things you guys at home can work on, if you struggle against Ling all-ins, one of the best reactions is the first thing that happens, especially if you're getting units caught outside your wall like this, like Neeb is, it adds another complication. But the moment I see a bunch of lings being a dickhead at my wall, like right now, there's a reaction I do. I zoom to my natural camera hotkey, which would jump me here. I grab a probe and I click it here. I would scroll over and I would shade that Adept, and then I would place a gateway or a cyber core down there. And this is something that I've just practiced over and over and over again until it happens automatically. Now, because Neeb was microing those 2 Adepts, he's a bit slow on it. And you'll notice he's already basically placed the gateway by the time he puts the shade, and that Adept dies before she can shade behind the wall. It's a very small mistake that doesn't end up costing him, because obviously the 2 Adepts were the priority. But it's something where getting that Adept behind the wall, especially if you don't have a total of 3 Adepts out, can be massive. The difference between 1 or 2 Adepts behind a wall is huge. Now we see that gateway that's super exposed going down really fast. Scarlett's still flooding lings, and whilst she's got a 3rd finishing, the problem is this wall is healthy as fuck. Neeb's warping in sentries. Why sentries? Because you can just limit the surface area on that weak point of the wall where your opponent's focusing. As we see, Neeb just says, yeah, we'll just force field that to be safe. Oh, you're still coming? Sees more lings, and he goes, okay, all right, we'll put down another gateway here. So as that core gets very low, he pulls back, drops the gateway. He's going to save that probe with the Prism. Picks it up, drops it on the other side. builds another pylon, and we can look at the units lost tab. Scarlett has started building drones now, but this was basically just a big all-in. She was hoping for some more mistakes, maybe him being a bit greedy on his unit count. In hindsight, Neeb had no fucking idea this was coming. And if Scarlett looked at this replay, she'd be like, shit, I could have let those adepts come a bit further out. Come with my lings from the north just a little bit later or something, being like a little more secretive. And who knows, maybe she could have caught those 2 adepts on the outside of the wall. Changes everything, right? Now it's just game over. Neeb's infinitely ahead. I do like how he follows it up. He says, oh, we'll build a few immortals, warp in more sentries, rebuilding the cybercore. Let's go up to a ton of gateways and just finish it. A couple of adepts in a prism come in, start picking off drones. They just kind of fly around, does a little bit of the shade in, you know, commitment. Phoenix sees almost no drones on the 3rd. He sees that's not saturated, whilst his base is fully saturated. So he says, look, I'm up in workers. We're making an army that can't be stopped, and he's just going to go finish the game. So very nicely done there. As always, encourage you guys to ask any questions as we go. Not the best engaged by Neeb. Yeah, a little bit slow to start unloading the warp prism. Can we warp in some zealots, please, mate? A couple of zealot warp-ins would be nice. He's doing a good job of ferrying units back, but yeah, a few zealots would be fan-fucking-tastic right now. 2 zealots, 4 sentries is what he ends up going for. It'll do. It'll do. But yeah, really good hold there. If he died to just a Ling Flood again, this would have been a really tilting start for Neeb. I feel like even when Neeb wins a clean macro game, you see him shaking his head and kind of swearing at himself on the camera. So I feel like he's actually like, I don't even know if he gets tilted, like even from a bad start to a series like that, just because I feel like even when he's winning, he kind of looks tilted. So I feel like it's just his natural state of being at this point, where Neeb is like emotionally untouchable because of that. Triple Helix is very well hung and a fantastic human who is very high MMR at life, by the way. Thank you for checking the Nydus Void Ray shenanigans for me before. So we're going to get that next replay up and keep diving into them. If you guys have any questions about them, about this particular series, please do hit me up. Is losing buildings that cheap for Protoss? Of course. Yeah, that was disgustingly Protoss favorite. You're losing a few buildings for like hundreds of Zerglings, dude. Oh. Sorry guys, I keep forgetting to open the folder so I can load the replays directly, and it's making me log in each fucking time. Alright, let's go. Here we go. Protoss pros seem much more keen on sentries than zealots, says Hectic. At that point, he'd kind of won the fight, so it was okay. Yeah, sentries can just trap roaches, trap lings, they're really good. But you always want to warp in zealots to deal with zerglings. Like, if Neeb had known there would be so many zerglings in that last fight, Neeb would have warped in a bunch more zealots before the fight started, and he would have positioned a little bit more carefully so he could stay in a nice tight ball where the lings couldn't surround him as much. Scarlett, of course, was banking on the lings surrounding, the biles hitting multiple units in a big surround and somehow turning around this terrible deficit. It wasn't enough, but yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. Thank you very much, True Edge, for the 46-month resub. Syncopation with the 11-month resub as well. I really appreciate the support, guys. Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you, guys.
Oh,
there we
yes.
go.
Oh my,
sound
oh
effects
my
back
God.
up.
Oh.
Those alerts do slightly cover the production tab, don't they? I moved them up there to get them out of the way. Let me just move them out of the way a little bit. There we go. Hey, Yoda, thank you very much, Thunder Bit Cheer, my friend. Get in the car, Morty. Nice. Thank you, guys. Split Dimension mentioned that if the Void Ray is next to the Nydus, when it starts, even without prismatic alignment, if that's off cooldown, you can almost kill the Nydus worm. It'll die like very, very shortly after popping. So you might get it before the Queen gets out and lands a transfuse. But it'll be pretty close. You might need a couple of probes there to help out. Cool. You like the Cyberforest cricket spec? They're pretty good. Okay, so Scarlett here is going for the... yeah, Scarlett's going for the Proxy Hatch build. The Fatal Bunny, Spine Speedling Flood. I used this versus Showtime. Way back when. WCS 2015. I always hide the hatch a bit further away. Now, Neeb comes down and he's like, that's a hatch gas. Wait. And he sees it's a gas pool. So he knows there should be a hatch on the way. And at this point, when he goes back to the natural and still sees no hatch, that's the moment where he knows. So for those of you who don't know, with a gas pool, the gas and pool both go down in the 40-second range. Okay? Got to know your timings as a Protoss player if you want to scout properly, okay? So this is not an early pool. This is... People go, oh, it's gas pool, that's scary. This is not a 13-12. So to get our terminology and our jargon right, 13-12 is where right at the start of the game, before you build this Overlord or anything else, you just go gas after one drone straight into spawning pools. You build one drone, a gas, a pool. This is different. Here we've built a drone, an Overlord, bunch more drones, then a gas, then a pool. This is just a slight reordering of the hatch first. It's a little bit less economic, but it's not a big deal in of itself. What it does though, both of these going down in that 40-second range, the pool actually ended up going down right on about 50 seconds. So it's usually the later 40 seconds. If it's the earlier 40 seconds, you might be looking at like a 16 gas, 16 pool. It's the more economic one. But they should be going for a hatch no later than a minute 20, maybe as early as a minute 15. So that's why Neeb comes down and says, hey, why is there no hatch? Maybe you thought I'd block it. So you already had a drone hidden behind here and then you ran it to the third. But then he sees no third there. Zergs don't normally take that third at a high level. They don't like it. They prefer this third. And then when he gets back and says, wait, you still don't have a third. It's a minute 30. You should have had one down 10 seconds ago. That's when he knows for sure. Now, Neeb's a big brain player who knows he's playing his friend who's a cheesy person. So immediately upon seeing the third, he's made that call even earlier than we might have, right? So he's come in, and the moment he sees nothing at the third, he reacts. In fact, he reacts even earlier than that. Holy fuck, does he know who he's playing against? Ha! What's interesting is even before confirming there's no third, just seeing no natural, Neeb already smells some fucking bullshit. And this is some... You would not do this if you didn't know your opponent, right? But he knows Scarlett, they're friends, there's some shit going on. I think he sniffs that there's something crazy. So he immediately goes Cybercore before Nexus, which you normally would not do for a gas pool. You would not react that hard just yet until you confirm there's no third. But for him, he seems to be like, pretty sure you would have this base. Why would you not have this base? And just off that read, he's done what I call a hard read. A hard read is where you say, I think my opponent's doing bam, bam. And you do it off information that doesn't necessarily mean that. They could be doing many other things, but based off your feeling, your intuition, your star sense, what you know about your opponent, what you know about the matchup or how it's being played at the moment, you make a hard read where you say, I think it's this, and I jump straight to that conclusion. And this doesn't, if you're wrong, it's not the end of the world, right? Going Cybercore before Nexus is not the end of the world, but the power of making a hard read is it can give you a huge step up against what your opponent's doing. So it's kind of amazing. So this is actually really, really cool. Argument from Shershadai says, I actually react this hard to pull first. I try to get 2 Adepts over to their base at 3 minutes as fast as possible. So I just go the core first, chrono 2 Adepts out while still getting a Nexus. It's only slightly delayed. That's also a way you can ensure you get scouting. Even if you don't want to do a 2 Adept pressure, right? Sure. You can go across with your first Adept a bit earlier, get a full scout of their main base. Remember we saw earlier on, Automaton for instance, unable to get the scout of the main and the natural without letting the Adept die. You could do that, shade into the main, take a look around, shade out, get out of there before link speed's done, especially on a small map like this. So there are advantages to just saying, nah, I like to do Cybercore first. So that's another option. It's either a hard read or Neeb has simply made the decision to say, I'm going to go Cybercore. Now, the reason I think it's a hard read is because that probe immediately went down there, saw the hatchery, and was like, oh, okay. So it feels like he knows that this is part of Scarlett's playbook, right? Definitely feels that way. And he knows it's going to be spines and speedlings. And in this scenario, there is nothing more important than just holding your wall, keeping your production alive, and not getting overwhelmed. You don't need a Nexus. You can see a second gas goes down, a Zealot starts up, a second gateway starts up, another pylon in the main base. Usually you'll go Robo against this, because if you get out an Immortal or two, it's going to ruin spines, ruin queens. Now, Neeb here does something I would never try, which is going down here and says, I'm going to fucking fight you before the spines even get up. You're being a bit of a greedy dickhead. I'm going to build a pylon down here, Chrono Zealot Stalker, I'm going to build some shield batteries, and I'm not going to even let you get the spines up. Now, this... I think this is the wrong decision. I think it's just unnecessary. I think if you hold your ramp, you're so safe. At the same time, when I'm executing this as the Zerg, I have had the rare time where the Protoss just fucking destroys me by doing this exact same response that Neeb's doing. And it does slow the push down. The problem here, what are we missing by doing this, is where's our Robo at? Robo still hasn't started. Now, let's be real. Neeb was prioritizing minerals over gas. You could have put on gas a little bit earlier rather than being fully saturated on minerals the whole time. Then you could have had a little bit more gas, squeezed a Robo in instead of this pylon and shield battery. Right? And he's not too far off. Like, he could have, slowed down that Stalker, and he could have started that Robo a while ago, right? But with this version, he's saying, I'm going to get down there, slow it down, we're delaying the tech, and I'm just getting as many Stalkers, and we're just going to get in its face. So he's doing good micro. Notice how Scarlett's trying to put down spines, but she doesn't want them to die. So whenever the Stalker and Zealot try to focus the spines, her Lings are going to come in, they're like, fight us, fight us, fight us. We're threatening this around. Ling speed is still a solid 25 seconds away. So Neeb can do whatever the fuck he wants for the next 25 seconds, I guess. He can dance all day, Zealot, Stalkers, but you notice how Scarlett, she's trying to pull back, she's trying to buy time. That one didn't cancel. That's actually a huge mistake from Scarlett, losing that drone. That one cancels. But the previous one not getting cancelled, oh my god, and that one, that's fucking, yeah, that's unforgivable mistakes there from Scarlett. Not cancelling those, like, she was shaking her head and probably swearing at herself. She was probably mad at missing those cancels. You're not meant to miss those. Now, Ling speed's done. Notice how Neeb is not going into the open where he can get surrounded. And, oh my god, he's going to try to get back to his wall off, which I guess the shield batteries basically reached the wall off, so this kind of works out, but they're going to get drained really fast. Lings do a lot more damage than Stalkers. And you don't want to lose 3 Stalkers here, dude. 3 Stalkers go down. There could be 2 spines halfway done already. 3/4 of the way done. If those drones didn't go down, yeah. That's why I don't like the commitment to the low ground. I feel like if they keep those drones alive, at a certain point, they're always going to push you off this low ground, right? Who knows? Maybe there could have been 2 more Adepts out after those 4 Stalkers. Either way, to me, I look at this and I'm like, really? Your Robo's just starting now? You lose this ground? That's kind of like, it's not an ideal scenario. Now, it's okay, but I really feel like if spines were already sieging this, 2 spines, this could be a 3rd spine crawl, and there could just be a lot more Lings for Scarlett right now. This would be a different game. Yeah, Scarlett not canceling those spines, I would argue is the biggest factor in this game. I think it's a huge misstep. Now, Scarlett may have been playing these games from China on the NA server, while Neeb, I believe, was playing from home. Does anyone know if Neeb's in... I don't think Neeb's in Korea. I think Neeb's in America right now. So he may have had a ping advantage. And she may say that's a really big factor in why she fucked that up. Now, she's going to try to keep flooding in. But you can see there's another force field just waiting. And Neeb's just going to keep warping in sentries. I would be much more focused on warping in an Adept here or there. But I guess the shield batteries buy you all the time you need. For me, I always try to get like a mix of force fields and damage output. But it's interesting to see Neeb saying, no, just making sure I have enough force fields. Like, that is how I hold this scenario. If I don't have those force fields, then I can be... I like that. Oh my god, she can't leave! Yeah, I think she might have broken him if she cancelled those spines. So I don't like the commitment to the low ground. I think if you're going to do it as Neeb, you really need to get out a couple of Adepts so you've got more anti-Zergling firepower. I think 4 Stalkers is more than enough. That Zealot getting surrounded, that's probably a mistake for Neeb as well, I guess. That Zealot adds a lot of firepower. Some people would just add Zealots in here rather than Adepts, but I would probably still just be chrono boosting these gateways, and that would be an Adept, and after that Stalker pops, I'd queue up an Adept there as well, and then I'd try to like hold this kind of area, yeah. You still wouldn't have had them out in time though, so you'd still be taking this god-awful engagement. What do you guys think about 2 Stalkers into Adept? I think maybe you could go 2 Stalkers straight into Adepts or Zealots. I like getting the third stalker. I would argue 3 stalkers into adepts. Really try to keep the zealot alive, and you'll be great. Some people in chat reckon you just go pure adept. I'm not a big fan of pure adept because you can't pick off those early slow zerglings and the spines quite as easily. The stalkers wreck the spines. That's why the stalkers are so fucking great. Otherwise, I would argue as Neeb, you just needed to pull back from that position and get behind your wall a little bit earlier. If you keep 3 more stalkers alive, even if those spines are up earlier, that's going to be a big difference in your damage output. I still think probably the safer way to play this is to just get the robo straight away, make immortals. Yeah, they'll break through your wall, but I think you'll be okay. I don't actually know the maths on it. I'm sure if I spoke to some Protoss players, they would argue that if you opt for that response and you don't slow down the spines, the Ling Flood will get in before you can have enough zealots, adepts, stalkers, enough meat. So maybe you would need to build a second layer of wall, and that's kind of tough here because the spines can like root all the way up here, and they can reach really deep. So your second layer of wall would have to be like quite far back to be out of range of the spines. Maybe Neeb has decided fighting on the low ground is the best way to do this. I definitely think swapping into Adepts or Zealots a bit earlier would be good. Probably Adepts, I think range damage is great. And yeah, and definitely try to keep the Zealot alive. But Scarlett, no doubt kicking herself for missing the cancels on those Spine Crawlers. Twice in that early stage, she lost the Spine Crawler. See, there's a good cancel. And then she misses it. That's really bad. 75 minerals and the drone. It's a fuckload, guys. It's a lot. That one as well. That's rough. Neeb goes up 2-1. It's a good cheesy build, though. It's a good cheesy build. What's up, Macro Master?
Oh, yes.
Hey!
Oh my
Jay
God.
Pegney, thank you for the 11-month resub, my friend. Oh, right. SC2 Macromaster says, I live in Australia as well. Is the ping bad for you when playing on the NA? No, it's not. Hey, it depends which server you're on. You can go Control-Alt-F in-game, SC2 Macromaster. Or, if you're in the menus, check it. You can open up your preferred game server menu. Now, if you're not in Masters or above, you can choose which server you'd prefer to play on. It doesn't count for me because I'm in GM. Doesn't work for me, but you can see I've got pretty decent ping to US West. Central's okay. East is pretty shit. Brazil's fucking terrible. These are all the different servers that you could actually put on within the NA region. However, some people have a terrible connection to NA, depending on where you live in Australia and what ISP you're on, dude. So investigate using a VPN. If you've got a really shitty connection to any of the servers, obviously EU's too far away, you're always going to have a bad connection. But if you're, yeah. Otherwise, if you're having a shit connection to Asia or NA, chances are your ISP is routing you through the moon or through some other equally stupid and inefficient way of bouncing the data back and forward. So just make sure you, yeah, investigate getting a VPN or changing your ISP. Either can work out. Sure. Weighing in chat with some beautiful feedback says Harstom's hold against the same rush is pretty much the same. He says the spines are the really scary part and the battery rush with the stalkers is what he thinks is the best way to do it. I still think 3 stalkers max though, Cher. What do you reckon? I reckon 3 stalkers. Give us your opinion, guys. I reckon 3 stalkers into Adepts and Zealots and all that stuff. I don't think you want any more than that. I think the first 2 or 3 stalkers are the ones that really fuck up the spine crawlers. Past that, yeah, it's gonna happen. So what is that? 2-1 in favor of Neeb. We'll go on Neeb's camera. Actually, I'll go on Scarlett's camera for this one, just for the start while I read some questions from chat. I get the same ping to NA and EU from Brazil, says Hectic. From playing from Brazil? That sucks, dude. Which NA servers, though? Yeah, that's pretty shitty. If I defend an attack, do I expand or make more units, says Frostkin? So that's a pretty complicated question. The simplest way to answer that is you should learn to understand the game state. I have a video on it. Understanding the game state. is what it's called. It's a Pig Daily video. Check it out on my YouTube. Give it a Google. Understanding the Game State Pig Daily. It's 2 versions of it. The 28-minute shorter version is a better video. But basically, follow the Artosis rule is the way to dumb that down. If your opponent attacks, you should defend. If your opponent defends, you should attack. And if your opponent defends, you should expand. And if your opponent expands, you should attack. Now, that's a very, very dumbed down, cute little, just catchy saying, which is basically saying, if you've got a lot of army, your opponent doesn't have a lot of army, you can go fuck them up. Use that army. If your opponent's just defending and turtling up, you can expand more to get ahead of them that way, right? Without having to break through their strong defense. There's 1,000 ways you can play it, and you really want to go through breaking down individual games and actually understanding work accounts and the tech involved and what your situation is. So the answer there is no one-size-fits-all response, really. That's the closest thing to a one-size-fits-all response. Waffle. Fucking Neeb. Even Neeb did it. Got his adept stuck there. Had to recall it. That's hilarious. Oh my god. So many people get that stuck there. It's so funny on this map. Yeah, but otherwise, you just need to learn to understand StarCraft better to make that decision more reliably, correctly. In the meantime, if you don't know, try to have a good game plan, good general game plan. I like to get 2 bases up, make a fuckload of roaches, and try to kill my opponent. That's actually a really good game plan when you start out. It could be, I like to get 3 bases, make a fuckload of tanks and Helldats, and then try to kill them. These are all decent game plans when you're starting out. Over time, you'll learn to refine that, have a better game plan, better understanding, and how to make the correct decisions. Depends on how many drones are trying to build spines, says Shashada. If there's 3 spines, I think 3 stalkers aren't enough, says Shur. Yeah, I guess it depends how early you get on it. That was so close, that push, so yeah, it's interesting. So I guess a lot of pros prefer the shield battery response to that. Interesting, to slow down the spines and try to cancel them. Alright, cool. Right. Nice. Alright guys, let's take a look at this game, shall we? So it's been a Phoenix first opening, has sniped a single Overlord, is going for Oracles behind that into a second Stargate. Probably just 1 Oracle then, I think. I think it'll be single Oracle into double Star Phoenix, double gases are down. Scarlett has no idea this is the case. She's built 12 Lings, so she would love to try to cancel a potential third, but most importantly, she's been forced into this because Neeb's been a dickhead with his adepts, and then he's gone and built a pylon to create an artificial choke point to make them very hard to dislodge. That's a fucking pain in the ass. That's just Neeb. #1 dickhead, man. Very good Protoss player. Oracle comes in, Phoenix there lifting, tanking a bit of damage, and the Oracle does get out, 3 kills. Not bad. I wouldn't say it's amazing either, though. Now, this is a cute little way of trying to disrupt Scarlett and distract her so that she doesn't realize necessarily that it's 2 Stargate Phoenix. As Scarlett, you're suddenly going, oh, fucking, what is this thing I've got to calculate in? You know, she's got to worry about, okay, you're going to warp in more adepts there? What are you doing? She's gone a pretty fast Roach Warren. This is a pretty safe Roach Warren since you're up against Stargate. So, yeah, that's what you'd like Scarlett to also build a big round of Roaches here as Neeb. But Neeb's air harass kind of dying down now. The Zerglings do have reasonable map control. I'm a little bit sad she doesn't have like a Ling out here or something. But she's being active enough with her pack that it doesn't matter. And she's only building 4 Roaches. So she's not crazy overcommitting to Roaches. She does have 30 Zerglings out though. Oh god, that Adept's not placed correctly. Look at them. Oh, actually it is. Really did not look like they were going to be able to defend there. Okay, and that Zealot is going to hold the choke. Alright, good defense. But the first Phoenix getting ready to show themselves. Going with just 4 Phoenix. 5, in fact, sorry. And a 6th one is on its way across the map. There was 1 Phoenix, of course, the early scout that was already across the map. Queen in the open right now. Surprised he's not focus firing it. I guess it's because he doesn't actually have that many Phoenix down here. He's going to get that Queen back at home. The Oracle did chase the Zerglings off, but there's still a lot of Zerglings, and the Oracle's out of energy. Ooh, does take out a lot of Queens here. Taking out some drones as well. Oh, man, I mean, these Phoenix are low, but they're not actually dead yet. That's some awesome damage to start out there from Neeb. 7 workers killed. Man, Zealot's just standing in the open. That's a big mistake. That's a cancelled third. If those Zealots were in the choke point, they would have bought a lot more time there. Now that's pretty good quick pullback there, but that's actually a lot of roaches, and yeah, oh, Neeb gonna lose the third for sure. Getting kind of pinned back. Actually, I mean, you really should not be losing your third when you've got this many phoenixes and the roaches have gone for the natural like that. Taking a little bit long to move back down there, but nah, it's gonna fall. Okay. Yeah, it's a very valuable snipe. Behind this, Scarlett's desperately trying to drone up. She knows she needs to get 3 base saturation up. Oh god, if she gets those sentries, more lings are coming in. That's the last thing you'd expect here as Neeb. Neeb's going to lose at least one more sentry. Does go down. Good force field, but that's just damage, which, you know, this third has already been delayed. The Oracle's out of energy. And Neeb can't even get it back down. Neeb's desperately needing a third base right now. He's building Immortals, but he's not going to be able to get into the gases on his third for way too long. And that makes Hydra Tech very powerful. We've got a wedge of queens in the main. Only one spore at each base. Oh, Scarlett's going to get the Hydras out just in time. She's been super greedy. Neeb needs to get damage done right fucking now. She's been mega greedy behind this. She says, look, I've kept you at home so long. I've skipped the spore crawl account. I built a few extra queens, but not really that many. Actually, yeah, that's all of her queens, so no extra queens. She's only got 4. And she's going to try and go straight into Hydras to take this down. Now, Neeb intercepts the rally of Hydras. Takes out a bunch of them, kills a few drones, kills a few overlords. The problem is this third, man. It's just started. You can't have your third delayed that long. So Neeb's in shit town, dude. He's lost so many sentries. He's trying to rebuild them just now. He's just warped in another round of sentries. Where's the storm? Where's the forge? Where's all that stuff that's going to give you longevity in this game? It's just not there. Gonna have to cancel that second lift, but a queen kill there's good. You know, there's only 3 queens out. That means there's not going to be a lot of continual creep spread on this map. This pylon's still being a dickhead. These 2 adepts have been here this entire time. If Neeb brought those back to help defend the third earlier, I think that might have actually helped out quite a bit. It's a very weird investment. Weird investment, those 2 adepts. So we've got, what, a 3 immortal sentry push here. There's not many probes on the third, no probing behind this. Neeb's basically just saying, I'm going to try and kill you with an all-in attack. I'm too far behind to go toe-to-toe in a macro game. Scarlett's up 20 workers, but she's already got 18 Hydras out. They've got the move speed upgrade. They are 50 seconds from range. So it's going to be +1 move speed Hydras. That should be enough to deal with this. They're very fast here on creep, even if their range isn't quite what you'd want. Nice corrosive bile actually lands on some of the phoenixes there. She does a good job pulling back and negating those force fields somewhat. And the Phoenix on the north side just kind of floating around. They don't have any energy. A few more Stalkers warping in. Neeb making the most out of a pretty terrible early game scenario, but Hydras versus unupgraded Stalkers at this point. Guardian Shield can work a little bit of magic. Warp Prism on like 1 hit point. Groove Spines is about to finish as well. Oh no. Oh, no. Those 2 adepts got F2'd over here finally, as did the Oracle. That's all she wrote. Yeah, this is interesting. Neeb not being able to defend his third and taking so long to get it back down, definitely a deciding factor in this game. Scarlett's running around. That Oracle actually just killed a bunch of roaches, and she's very eager to finish the game off. Tried to go into disruptors, but yeah, let's go back to this key point where that third base is going down. This is a real cute maneuver, but I feel like this post should be abandoned at some point. As annoying as it is and as uncomfortable as this, like the real power of this move is a Warp Prism could come across at any moment and the Zerg doesn't really know. So it's really fucking awkward for the Zerg, and it might just be that Neeb finds the Zerg sits back a lot of the time when this happens. Obviously, the real power of these Lings being out ahead of time is you're going to notice the Lings force a response. Nothing massive. But the Oracle's being forced home, and they keep catching units in the open. If Neeb was able to get these Adepts wedged in the mineral lines earlier, that would be good, but he keeps getting his units exposed. The Oracle keeps wasting its energy. And, wait. Neeb sees the Roaches coming. Whoa. I thought the Roaches must have moved through here. He saw them coming? I mean, this is sloppy play by Neeb. So Neeb's seen it coming. He went for some damage. That's fine. Staying that long with the Phoenix, is it fine? Really? Why wouldn't you just pull home immediately? I feel like you have to pull home immediately. It's always more important to bring those Phoenixes back and kill any Roaches coming across the map than anything else. As long as you get rid of the Roaches, you can use the Oracle plus Zealots and Adepts wedged into these little choke points. There on hold position. Easy hold against Zerglings. But I feel like this is just Neeb either not watching his minimap or just being a little bit indecisive because he sees the Lings coming across. Let's go to his camera, get inside his head a little bit here. He's like, all right, let's go in, let's do some damage. Scarlett was definitely keeping him busy in a lot of different areas, right? Looks at that, looks back there. He's like, oh, I've turned on my Oracle. It's fine. That'll sort itself. Looks back, deactivates Oracle, starts double Robo, looks back at Phoenix. Okay, yeah, he's pretty busy multitasking, guys. Yeah, he's warping in units. I don't know if he paid attention to the minimap or not. Now, he should know from the speed of those dots that that's Roaches going across. But I feel like, I mean, staying there for an extra 4 drones is fucking bad decision. If you go back, you defend your third, equal worker count, take the gases straight away here, have your probe count growing smoothly, you're in a good spot. I definitely think this situation favors the Protoss, especially on such a big map, where the mobility of the Phoenix, the immobility of the unupgraded Roaches hurts the Zerg. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Neeb would agree. As soon as he saw those Roaches on the minimap, he should have glanced at them and said, fuck, that's Roaches, sent the Phoenix home. And he shouldn't have got his units surrounded in the open as much. Scarlett created some chaos in this early game. Neeb fucked up, though. Neeb fucked up. And then he leaves these units in the open. Yet again, stop leaving units in the open. There's no reason they should be out there. And don't get me wrong, Neeb's 1,000 times better than me. I'm saying this in kind of the way I think Neeb would say it to himself, guys. I'm not trying to be like, Neeb's a fucking shitter, what are you doing? But I'm trying to imagine Neeb's in a monologue here and what he would be telling himself. And then, look at this. Ooh, it's the fucking slowest third of all time, man. 730. Ugh, brutal. Scarlett ties it up 2-2, guys. Yeah, so I think that game, I actually think he pressured Scarlett and she felt like she needed those Roaches. I think that pylon with the Adepts freaked her the fuck out. But then she was like, well, you're not coming across the map. Oh, fuck, it's Phoenix. And she felt forced to go across the map to try and pull him home. He didn't pull home, and she was like, oh, I got the third? Oh. I managed to distract the Phoenix long enough that I was able to drone to 70 workers, and not just drone to 70 workers, but skip extra spores, go straight into Hydras. And even though she took a bit of damage in the follow-up, she delayed his third so long. Because she not only killed his third, she took a long time to kill his third, and then delayed him replacing it for even longer. And it was like, oh, this is a solid 3-4 minute delay on that third base, man. That's crazy. So yeah, I think Scarlett definitely, if she knew what was happening there, she would not have invested in the Roaches. I mean, something I've been thinking about in this matchup is how like a fast lair style can be really good, especially on this sort of big map. Just to like have a second Overlord hidden somewhere down like below the Protoss's third, where the Phoenix never checks. And then morph it into an Overseer as soon as Lair's done and like dive through that main base. I also think she went for the Roach Warren too early. I think Scarlett could have delayed the Roach Warren knowing it's a Phoenix into an Oracle. Who gives a shit about this silly pylon in the middle of the map? But the first time you see it, you tend to play on the safer side of things. I think Scarlett probably saw that for the first time, and I think she was a little bit surprised that things went as well for her as they did off. I think Neeb had the better end of the openings, 100% there. He just fucked up a little. All right, guys, we're going to answer some questions in chat. Weigh in on the discussions going on in there just for a minute. So I'm going to scroll up, see if I missed anything. What are my glasses brand? I think they're Armani. I paid far too much for these. I'm pretty sure my next ones are going to be Specsavers or whatever the cheapest shitty ones manufactured by slave labor are. I've had them for quite a long time now, though, so at least I'm getting many years of use out of them. A Charizard's better against Hydra than Stalkers, says Bingo Boy. Yeah, absolutely. But in that scenario, Neeb was kind of higher on gas, had the gases on the natural, and was forced to do more of his sentry timing, where he was going for more of a ranged army, where he was kind of saying, separate the Hydras, kill this pack, isolate that pack, isolate that pack. So, and charge, he wouldn't have had the mineral income to really have a very good charge lot army from the way he'd built his force. So it was because his third kept getting denied, and then the Hydras got out, and he kind of realized where Scarlett's economy was, and he had to just make a snap call of, how can I possibly turn this bad position into a win? And he thought, you know what, I might be able to get in there before the Hydra upgrades are ready, separate with some good force fields, use the ranged power of the Stalkers and the Immortals. Because if you charge in with Zealots, the Hydras can just kill the Zealots over the force fields very easily, but if you're using a ranged army, you're going to be kind of holding them at arm's length, really using those force fields as like a space maker, something to keep your opponent at arm's length. Can you get lurkers by 5 minutes, says Bingo Boy. Why do pros choose so many stalkers when they're a bad unit? Is it for the micro potential? Well, blink stalkers are amazing. They're very flexible. Their ability to move and micro and harass is great, but it's very situational, and it's very, micro intensive, and it's something that as the fights get bigger and bigger, they lose power. So the stalkers in that fight were used for their range potential, just because it's the only raw fighting ranged unit that you could make there as Protoss, right? This was a desperate attempt for a push. You'll also see players make a good pack of Blink Stalkers for the early to mid game against Terran, blinking in, harassing, picking off units. It's all very micro-oriented. Their ability to teleport is incredibly powerful. It's insane. But once you get to a gigantic battle, where it's just a pitched fight, they don't have the stats to add up. So Stalkers are a bad unit if you don't have really good micro, and as the game gets later and later. So for most newer players, Stalkers are a terrible unit. That's why you'll get told that as a new player. So new players have that disconnect where they're like, people keep telling me Stalkers are bad. I watch pro games, they build a shitload of Stalkers every game, and you're like, it's because they can massage the value out of the Stalkers with their blink micro. Yeah. I can't deal with lurkers, I just die when I see them. Yeah, Immortal Archon Storm Charge Lot, the standard Protoss army is pretty good against lurkers, but it's very positional. With splash damage, it's always about if you can spread out your army, come in with a big arc or from two sides, and of course making sure you have detection is huge. Likewise, you can just avoid them and fight where they aren't. Yeah, but a lot of players when they're starting out really struggle against lurkers, siege tanks, liberators, all those sorts of units. Are you telling me you expect Triple Helix to make my next set of glasses? No way, man. Triple Helix has too much MMR at life. He's an absolute god. Are blink all-ins still a thing? Yeah, sometimes. Usually you just see blink pressure, though. Cool, all right. Not too many big questions, like, on an advanced level. As always, guys, any questions, any random shit you want to talk about or and ah about, vocalize it in chat. I love to have more things to discuss and talk with you guys. So, opening build here for Neeb. Nice early Warp Prism. Stalker Sentry drop. Scarlett on the other side of things is going for the cheeky Butthole, aka Nydus Swarmhost on 2 base. Now, Neeb has an Immortal in the main. He's been expecting a really fast Nydus Worm because he saw the lair. So he said, okay, get an Immortal, get lots of gateways so I can build lots of units, have my Immortals, have more gateways, yada yada. And at the same time, he's just going to do some light adept pressure to see what's up. And upon seeing no third, he's going to be like, oh, what the fuck? There's some real weird shit going on here. So he's going to poke in, try and get a better idea of what's happening. But the Swarmers are already on the way. Yeah. Our regular Nydus is just a butthole. This is a cheeky butthole because you're putting hell muffins inside the butt. And you can already hear it, right? What in the butt? You want to put what in my butt? And they're like, hell muffins. And you're like, no, that's fucking weird, man. Don't put hell muffins in the butt. High level analysis here on the Pig Daily, guys. So at this point, Neeb goes, fuck. But Neeb has a lot of production, a lot of raw units. If it turned out to be Mutas, Neeb would be able to defend with Stalker Sentry and do a very scary push as well, right? If it was any sort of ground all in, any Nydus Roach, you've got a ton of units to crush it. Now against Locusts, are these the best units for killing them? No. But you do okay. Locusts kill 6 probes on the first wave. Not a bad little engage. Oh. Almost wanted the Lings to surround the sentries there. And, okay. We're going to see these Locusts micro. Oh, she didn't micro them. Okay. Another Nydus Worm's going to pop over there. So, Neeb basically says, okay, it's time to do clearance duty. Clear here. Scroll down, clear here. Scroll up, clear here. Scroll down, clear here. Rotate, right? Just keep that movement going. Keep that movement going. All right, so we got Locusts there. They're going to come in from a new angle, and Neeb said, you know what? It's going to be too hard to stop this going up. Just run. Go across the map with everything, pull the probes, and let's just commit to a big fight, force those swarm hosts onto the defensive. And here's the number one thing you do against swarm hosts. You push into them. When they throw locusts, you run away, and then you re-engage. So you can see here, Neeb is like actually committing crazy hard. He has confidence in his force fields and his warp prism micro. Normally you'd run away, wait for those locusts to expire, and then go again. But Neeb's like, nah, I think you've been too greedy, and you've just used too many locusts on my side of the map. I'm gonna try and just fucking kill you. Let's see if it works. Ooh, so here's where things get a bit dicey. Where there's a fantastic surround from Scarlett. Those locusts doing big damage. Now as Scarlett, the problem here is she's fucked up with those swarm hosts. Yeah, I play a lot of swarm host games lately. Never back them into a corner. Now, what I like to do is I like to always keep my swarm hosts on 2 different keys. And it's really fucking hard to do that when you're using a Nydus Worm, right? But this is why I love the ground pushing swarm host style, where you're spreading creep and you've got a squad of swarm hosts on the north, squad on the south. If they push in like this, I've got a squad of swarm hosts there, squad of swarm hosts there, and I'm kind of coming in and throwing those locusts, so I'm getting a real nice surround. Scarlett not only has been throwing those locusts from one angle where force fields can cut them up, where they're not able to all engage at the same time quite as well, but she's now cornered. And the thing is, you can lose your base, be 1 base versus like this shitty 1.5 to 2 base Protoss economy, and still win. If you've got 20 swarm hosts, that's like having a base mining in of itself. The problem for Scarlett here is, well, number one, Neeb's fucking warp prism micro is obscene. Apparently just putting everything in and out of the warp prism counters mass swarm host Nydus Worm. I can't do that, but Neeb can, because he's a god. Oh yeah, she had to use a Nydus Worm just to try and evacuate. And she just can't quite get on top of it. 2-base Nydus Swarm Host was never something I was the biggest fan of. Let's go back and break it down, because this is a real fucking cheesy build, right? This is a real cheesy build, and you know, I think you could argue that you actually just need to do more damage with the first wave. You could also argue that you need to keep up a more continual stream of locusts where possible. I really... Ooh, fuck, I just knocked my PC with my knee pretty hard. I just need it. I do feel like one very small thing, which actually would have made a really big difference. So first of all, she does a good bit of micro here. I think she holds positions. Maybe she focus fires. Yeah, there's a little bit of focus fire in there. That's really good. But you see this next swarm host that pops out, right? And I feel like maybe she could have thrown just more locusts here straight away, and that would have been awesome. Because then she could have killed a few sentries and stuff. But not only that, if she was just going to commit to that one, obviously it's dangerous to pop more swarm hosts because you might get force fielded out of the Nydus Worm and lose them. But if she got these extra swarm hosts, because a ton of swarm hosts just loaded into that, she's got a shit ton. Remember, she has only used like 5 or 6. Another 3 or 4 are in there, fresh, ready to go. 2 more will be in there in about 10 seconds. If you get those locusts out, it's good. But if she micro those locusts into that mineral line, there's nothing there to defend, and you're gonna, at least waste some mining time. And Neeb's not got a big economy. Now, the other thing I think you could argue here is that you probably need to go Ravages with this, even with the 2-base swarm host. Like, she's going Zerglings, and I just don't know. Is that, like, the right way to play it? You're so locust reliant, and I guess that can work. I don't think she realizes that he pushed across the map here. So she might have used a few too many there. And that's just not the best angle to come from. This angle over here is way closer to a mineral line. I mean, she does pretty good. She depowers some gateways. She doesn't focus the robo, otherwise she would have killed it, which would have been sexy. But yeah, I think coming down the ramp with the swarm host is a mistake. I think she should be throwing them from the high ground. And I think Neeb is just so decisive at thrusting his way in here and saying, you know what, swarm hosts are going to get crazy value over time. I just push in, you're fucked. And I still can't believe he didn't have to pull back from this first wave. I guess it was only about 6 swarm hosts, but a bunch of these locusts just don't get that much damage. And look at the warp prism, it just keeps ferrying these units to safety. And that's the thing is locusts, anytime they're allowed to just sit there and attack, they do an insane amount of damage. So for those of you who don't know, a locust does 10 damage a shot, only has 3 range, but it attacks faster than a marine. So each locust, and remember each swarm host throws 2 locusts, it's like 2 supercharged plus 2 stim marines. This is without any attack upgrades. So it's just this fucking insane thing. But simply by using force fields and then also picking units away from them, the locusts are like, oh fuck, we've got to waddle forward a little bit. And they're very fragile. They've only got, what, 50 hit points, I believe. We'll find out in a sec. She's going to throw some more in a second. Yeah, 50 hit points, no armor. And you notice that Neeb stutter steps back a bit there, and then he, once again, starts picking up these units. Now, a lot of these locusts, this time they do a lot more damage, because she's used the drones to get in there as well, right? But then the locust count, they do die really fucking quickly as well, and then they're gone. Because he is able to maintain his position, the moment they're gone, he's doing crazy damage. So yeah, if you're ever able to just, like, muscle your way through a big wave of locusts, if you can muscle through 50% of your locusts at any time and have your army at your opponent's base, you basically just win the game. Because if they throw every locust at once, you can disengage, come back in, and kill everything, right? If they throw half the locusts, wait 15, 20 seconds, throw another half the locusts, wait 15 seconds, throw another half the locusts, you're just kind of able to muscle through and start getting critical damage in that in-between time, in that cooldown time. And that's just fascinating. Notice a lot of Zealot Warpins as well. Neeb wants raw damage. Wants units that'll actually beat the Locusts in a fucking headbutting battle. He knows he can't keep committing. The Stalkers and the Sentries that he had from the early game, he utilized really well. But from there, he just goes raw, cheap firepower, damage, hit points. Warps in some Stalkers as well. Just obviously the more microable unit. It's just very, very decisive, impressive micro. Yeah, I think this, you know, just decisively pushing across the map, definitely the best thing for Neeb to do there, right? He could have played mopping the floor, clearing the area, where if we go back to about 6:30, Neeb could have said, okay, cool, we've got our units split in 2 squads, send half, you know, get these zealots out, and adepts get down here with half, leave these units up here, go around, keep denying the warp prisms, and take a third and build up into what? Charge, Archons, more units that can just kind of barrel your way through. But I think this was the right way to do it. You say, nah, that Locust, I mean, it's just going to be so hard to stopping them getting in range and getting good value. I think it's decisive to say, I didn't know what was coming, but I went for 9 gateways and a robo already so that I could push into mutas, so I could push into a cheesy Nydus worm and crush it, and then counter push. And I really like Neeb's one-size-fits-all response to this Zerg's being a cheesy fuck and rushing a lair. Neeb says, I'll make an immortal early on. It's going to patrol in my main base. It's going to make sure I don't get Nydus. I'm going to make 3 gateways. I'm going to make sentries. I'm going to make stalkers. These units that gain value over time and really, really go well with the immortal in an aggressive push, but also good defensively. And he's just like, nope, we're just going to make sure we cover everything. I'll get a prism out after the immortal so I can do some very light pressure, but most importantly, scouting. We're just gonna, okay, just build up, build up, build up. And the moment the Nydus worm pops, he's like, well, against the Nydus Roach build, I would have defended it, then counter pushed. Against the Muta build, I would have pushed across. Against this, I would have pushed. It's kind of like he's like, whatever you do on 2 base, you don't have a big economy, you don't have a lot of raw material. Let's shove through you. Let's fucking knock you out. I like it. I think it's a really good. I think it's a really good way to respond to someone who's doing a 2-base lair build. If you don't know what the Zerg's doing, if you don't know what your opponent's doing, finding a generalized setup or a response that kind of works in all situations, or at least the setup for a response which can then branch in a few different angles or which covers every option, that's often the secret to high-level reactive players, being able to kind of patch up every possibility. So, good shit, good shit. I like it. Nicely played by Neeb there. 3-2 advantage. And both players being very cheesy, but Scarlett especially was, man, mega dirty in this series, trying to cheese him out. High damage, hit points, cheap. Oh, and some stalkers as well. Exactly, sure. I'm like, yeah, I guess he's still, yeah. Obviously, the stalkers do give him a bit more micro ability with the prism, but I'm just like, yeah, it's definitely not serving the same function as the zealot there. Is Biomech Army viable with Terran? I like mech. I've gotten to Plat 2 with mech. I feel I can't go any further. I've been trying to learn bio to be more well-rounded. Bio feels fragile. I'm thinking of biomech. Is it viable? It's usually pretty shit, Taurus, to be frank. Your upgrades are split. You can absolutely get really high on the ladder with mech, but you'll need to be focused on working on your control. If you're in Plat 2, I can imagine a few of the problems that might be giving you issues. Not using control groups, using F2. It's a big one, especially for mech, where you got to be very harassment oriented in the early stages and preferably all game. Maybe not using camera hotkeys might be it. Most importantly, not having really tight build orders and a good game plan. Yeah, those would be the main things to work on. You can absolutely get really far with mech. If you do want to learn bio, I would say go all out with bio and just play with it. And get good at it and accept that you're going to be worse at bio when you first start it. That's just what happens. Whenever you say, I want to learn this other way of playing StarCraft, it's very different to how I've been playing. Just brace yourself to lose. You know you're going to lose. You know you're going to lose a lot. So just brace yourself for it. And accept that your MMR is not a reflection of how good you are at the game. If you get too focused on just your ladder rank and your MMR, you're going to be like, I just play the exact same style every game because it's the one that I'm best at, and the game becomes very stale and boring. But if you try new shit and you expand your skill set, which it sounds like you want to be doing, just don't be worried about playing worse for a bit. As long as you focus on the details, you'll always improve. You'll always get better. Are stalkers good versus cattle bruisers? Good's a very subjective word, Source Spouse. You can counter any early battlecruiser number with to stalkers. At a certain point, I believe stalkers do pretty poorly. Just like supply for supply. But yeah, they need to get to a lot of battlecruisers. So there's like a big window there where stalkers are just fine. A lot of random discussion about battlecruisers in chat. People saying they're good, people saying they're bad. Interesting. Yeah, you guys would be surprised. You can win with just about anything in StarCraft. If you do it in a way that makes sense and you get a better build. You can mass Thor every game. You'd be surprised how well you can do with that, guys. Now, a couple of Adepts did get surrounded there. The Oracle was not joined with them to keep them safe, which is what you'd see Trap be a little bit more focused on usually when he does this sort of aggressive Oracle Adept opening. We do see a fast melee upgrade for Scarlett, which is obviously looking like she wants to go straight Hydra Bane. So if she doesn't take much more damage, drones up, gets a... Oh, she's going late lair with this. How many queens is she? Only 4 queens late lair? I would expect 2 more queens or 3 more queens to be starting up real soon as Scarlett. I would not be expecting her to play such a low queen count style. She got a Baneling Nest? No Baneling Nest either. Scarlett's played so cheesy this entire series, and she's continuing to play. This is like a eco cheese, guys. She's just droning really hard off a low queen count, despite your opponent investing in 2 oracles and a phoenix. So you're totally justified going 5 or 6 queens. But if you skip a Baneling Nest and a Roach Warren and try to rush to Hydras, sometimes you can get there in time. But this isn't even a Hydra rush. This is an economy rush, just skipping Banelings or Roaches, then going Hydras. So she's just banking on Neeb being a bit defensive. Now, this can work out okay, even versus Archon drop. But even then, you'd prefer to have an extra queen or 2. Now, about 6 workers have gone down. That's not too bad, since Neeb did invest quite a lot in this. But, oh man, he just left the laser beams on. Gets another drone or 2. He's going to have to recall those. Maybe doesn't have the energy for it. So she's spotted a ton of Adepts coming across the map. They're going to have Glaives in about 30 seconds, guys, and that is indeed 13 Adepts. Scarlett's just started the 4th. She doesn't have a Baneling Nest. All she's got is Zerglings. Melee is not quite done. She needs to not fight till melee is done. Actually, because Glaives isn't done, Oh, she just doesn't have enough lings, though. Her drones are stacked. She was a bit slow to run with these drones. I would have ran them a little bit earlier if I was on point in her situation. Melee's going to be done in time for this one. But yeah, look at this. Like, the oracles are there. Yeah, Neeb's like shading more adept reinforcements in. And even though the queens come forward and get rid of the oracles, she's a bit slow to focus fire that oracle. Pulled back to safety. And the adepts just shred through. Zerglings do not do well versus glaive adepts, guys. Scarlett was eco-cheesing. Neeb did a nice, tight, big mass adept follow-up to his Oracle Phoenix opening. Scarlett was banking on him not doing that, on her getting a free pass to Hydra Speedbane 4 bases and then overwhelming him in the macro game. Neeb looked like the better player in this series. Scarlett played some really nice aggressive builds, some nice economic gambles. Like, she was always gambling on one thing or another in this series, and that's what you do versus someone who is favored versus you in a normal match, in a match where you're both kind of sitting back and going, okay, I'll go for this, you'll go for that. She's fucking dead now. There's nothing she can do. He's just going to kill her with whatever he feels like. Because he's got a third up, fully saturated and everything. So this last game, you just can't skip the Baneling Nest is normally what you'd go with this build order as Scarlett. 430 is probably the ultimate lateness. You would get that Baneling Nest if you were being Captain Greedy douchebag himself. Or herself. In this case, Scarlett, I think, put on the greedy, what Protoss players would call the greedy douchebag hat. They're like, what? You just hoping you'd fucking get to Hydras without even any Banelings? And a low queen count? She's like, yeah. And she actually takes a pretty nice little engage there. But that Zealot Warpin's going to shred. Yeah. So she takes a pretty good fight there, but she did. Yeah. Some people, I guess, would argue about scouting, right? Should she have been able to scout there? So whenever I die to this, and I sometimes do the same sort of greedy play that Scarlett's done here, where if you can skip that Baneling Nest, the build order just feels so much nicer. So she's going to see the third, and poking around with the Lings, if the Adepts show themselves, like at lower levels, I say lower, like mid-GM and below, a lot of players will just warp in their Adepts here at the front, whereas you should be warping in the Adepts somewhere back there. But you can notice, if Scarlett, I don't know if she saw that, but if you poke the wall a lot, even players of Neeb's caliber will often just warp in those units there. I wonder if you can see those warping in. What do you guys reckon? Do you reckon Scarlett can see them through the fog? Just because it's just out of vision? No. Sometimes you'll see like an animation just on the edge of fog. In that case, you couldn't. But yeah, if you see more Adepts warping in, you're like, wait, there's a few Adepts here. Two out there. There's one on, then she's warping in more. He's warping in more Adepts. Yeah, then you might get a little bit wary of what's happening. But I think Scarlett was expecting like maybe 6 or 7 Adepts with no glaives to come. She was like, nah, I don't need anything against that. Just +1 melee lings will be fine. And she was thinking about trying to cancel the third, right? She's like, oh yeah, do a big wave of lings, see if we can cancel it. And she panics here and kind of pulls back a little bit. She still has no idea. She spots this so fucking late. Yeah, and this is where she spots, she goes, oh, okay, a couple of Adepts in the open. Oh. And she still doesn't know just how many. And now she's like, at this point, she knows she's fucked. This would be 3 or 4 gates, guys. It looks like it is indeed 4. Yeah, so Neeb's committed pretty hard. He did go 4 gates before 3rd Nexus. It's a really good timing. In terms of scouting info, you can normally tell this build because the gases on the natural go down later. Oh, Neeb takes both gases under the Overlord. Big boy Neeb. He probably mines from him anyway, right? Yeah, it doesn't make much difference. I don't know. I don't know the exact timings on gases. I don't scout them enough. That's something I should really pay attention. You go watch Lambo's stream and he's like, these gases were 12 seconds early. It's an Archon drop. And you're like, okay, you know more about this game than I do. I'll concede. A BlizzCon competitor. #1 German Zerg player. Probably knows a bit more than me. But yeah. Basically, if you just see more Adepts, it gives you a warning. Just in general, having a Baneling Nest would have made Scarlett a lot safer. As I said, 430 is like normally the latest you'd go for a Baneling Nest, because this is a much later Adept timing than you'd normally see, right? We've seen a Phoenix and 2 Oracles, and there might be a pattern where Neeb or most pros always go only single Oracle if they go Glaive Adept, and they hit a lot faster. Neeb says, you know what? I'll add the second Oracle, and I'll go for the fourth gate, and I'll come out a bit later when you think it's not even a possibility, and bam. So that makes a big diff. Makes a pretty big diff. A little Scarlett hate from Pig says Archelitos. Oh, Scarlett's one of my favorite players, dude. Ain't no hate. I'm just stating facts. She's cheesy as fuck. I'm sure if you spoke to her, she'd be like, yeah, you can't beat Protoss unless you cheese them. She would say that matter of factly. She would drop that line immediately. Like, and there would be no doubt. People, because Scarlett's so confident with her balance whining about Protoss over the years, people sometimes think she's joking. She's not. She really does think Protoss is fucking bullshit. Always has, always will. She thinks it's super unfair how powerful Protoss is. And that's fine. A lot of people do. Not me. I don't think Protoss is super OP. I think Protoss was a bit bullshit in Heart of the Swarm and Wings. I think it was a much more rage-inducing matchup in the old days. I think Legacy, all the matchups are less rage-inducing. Then again, I don't play Terran versus Protoss at a pro level, so I can't really speak for the TVP brethren out there. Alright guys, that's the end of the series. Why are those drones going that they come back to mining that fast? Not sure which part that was, sorry. When I open gas first Stargate Archon drop, my natural gases started at 310, says sure. I'm a greedy boy. That's insanely early. What do you got, like one zealot in your wall and no other gateway units, buddy? Jeebus. That's insanely early. Damn. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show.
my God. Oh.
Favorite build orders. Gas pool, hatch, early link speed to deny scouting into the Nydus worm ling flood. I like that build from Scarlett. 3 queens, a Nydus worm, and a fuck ton of zerglings. Neeb knew it was coming, scouted perfectly with an adept, then with an oracle, still died. We pointed out how he fucked up in game 1, but nonetheless, he ended up looking pretty decent. In the end, Neeb wins 4-2. Was the WCS a winter champ for NA, which was awesome. What other builds did I really like? I'm always a lover of the Proxy hatch spine ling rush. I think that's great. I do think she fucked up by not canceling her spines in this series, or it could have been a different game. Nonetheless, awesome. Such a quick pickup by Neeb to see gas pool, see no hatch at the natural, and immediately scout for it, thinking that might be the case. So once again, gas pool hatch with a lot of her cheesy builds, not the hatch first variation. So that's actually really cool. Those are my 2 favorite builds of Scarlett's. I love the cheeky butthole, and I think a lot of Protoss players would have died in Neeb's shoes. His ability to micro that prism, to decisively push across the map and ignore the locusts at home. Beautiful play by Neeb in that game. But a build which, I mean, I think it was awesome that Scarlett pulled out the cheeky butthole, the old Nydus Swarm host. It's such a good build in certain scenarios. It's good for these big maps. She did it on Port Alexander. We've seen it on Acolyte in the past. Rogue, I believe, knocked Neeb out of like BlizzCon 2017. Using the same build on Acolyte, a 3-base variation, I believe it was back then. So it's a cool build. It's a mainstay. Neeb's just played solid, awesome StarCraft. Minor adjustments, cool things. Putting a pylon on the watchtower on year 0, wedging 2 adepts underneath it. That's a sick little move to fuck with the opponent. And it actually should have spotted the Roach attack. It did. And Neeb failed to respond, and that's why he lost that game. So cool detail there. I love this big 4-gate, massive depth pressure. Ends up hitting about 6 minutes here on this big map. A little bit after 6 minutes. About 6 minutes, 6:10 is when these adepts really enter creep and get into your base on a big map. And that is 13 adepts with Glaives finishing up. Glaives is actually not done, but it's slightly mistimed, but just a cool build here from Neeb. Lots of awesome play by Neeb throughout. Lots of awesome play by Scarlett. Lots of cheesy builds. Didn't write any of them down in the Book of Filth. Thought I was going to. Didn't end up bothering. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next Pig Daily episode. If you have any series with replays that are publicly released, note not GSL, that you want me to talk about, please let me know. You can suggest GSL ones, and I can do very short shows where I show snippets but it's mostly going to be me talking and occasionally showing a little snippet of the VOD, using, of course, fair use, review purposes, all that shit. Make sure I'm not stealing other people's content. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Good night.